Hey, it's Matt Moscona. You found it. It's AFR Saints, your home for daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Please subscribe, smash the like button, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And our content this football season is presented by BetUS. Score a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. Enjoy the video. Who dat? Saints Cowboys, Sunday, noon. Can the Saints make it 2-0? The level of competition ratchets up dramatically. David Helman, Fox Sports, covered the Cowboys for a long time. Proud Manship alum over at LSU as well. Good enough to join us. How are you, dude?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I hope everybody's staying safe, staying dry over there. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man, we're good. I think the Morgan City, the southern part of the state, is probably going to get knocked around a good bit here. In Baton Rouge, we're on the west side of the storm, so we may not get it as bad as other parts of the state, but of course everybody's going to feel it to a degree. So we appreciate it, though, man. Hey, give me a reaction to just how dominant Dallas was at Cleveland in Week 1.
To be honest with you, as somebody that's covered the team for a long time, it was almost ho-hum, just because, look, we know the Cowboys' struggles in the postseason are well documented, but it was a blueprint we've seen a lot, basically since Micah Parsons came into the league, which he's on year 4 now, of you just overwhelm the opposition with your pass rush, get a couple mistakes out of them. Dak Prescott in the offense, they don't always have to be amazing. They're very efficient. And, it was 20-3 at halftime, and you were just kind of like, all right, they're going to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback in the second half, and this thing's going to be over. So it's an impressive win just because Cleveland was a playoff team last year, but I was kind of watching and I was like, man, this looks really familiar. This looks like a lot of Cowboys games I've watched over the years.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by what Dallas did defensively. I am surprised that what Dallas did offensively, because Cleveland was the best defense in the NFL a year ago, and they completely neutralized Myles Garrett as well. How did they do that?
Yeah, I think it's two things, and I mean, credit to the Cowboys scouting staff, man, especially when it comes to offensive linemen. They do a phenomenal job. They found Zach Martin a decade ago. They found Tyron Smith before that. They just drafted Tyler Smith at guard, who's an all-pro already, and now this new kid, Tyler Guyton's their left tackle. His first career start is against Myles Garrett, and he wasn't amazing. I'm not trying to say he shut Myles Garrett down. He gave up a strip sack, but by and large, for his first NFL start, he was really effective, and it's got to make you feel good if you're a Cowboys fan, the way that he played. And then, people criticize him, but Dak Prescott's one of the most cerebral, experienced quarterbacks in the NFL. He knew how to handle the blitz. He knew how to get out of plays that weren't going to be successful, and really not their most explosive or entertaining day, but just very efficient. And when you're going against Myles Garrett and company, that's plenty good enough.
And despite, I don't know, man, the lack of a true bell cow rusher, you tell me if I'm wrong on there, they still run for 100 yards. Zeke, 10 for 40. How did they do this? Like, how do you put together the running game when you don't actually have a true, legit lead back?
Yeah, we're going to see. I mean, it was a nice enough day. Zeke he showed some flashes of his old self there. I still think Zeke Elliott can be a useful player. I certainly don't think he's the all-pro that he used to be. But, just at 4 yards a carry, it wasn't anything impressive. And that's what we're going to see as the season goes along. They don't have a bell cow. They don't have a ton of juice. Zeke, certainly he's just not that guy that's going to break a bunch of explosive games at this point in his career. I don't think Dalvin Cook is that guy either. We haven't seen him yet. He's on the Cowboys practice squad. It looked good enough in Week 1, and you kind of figure, well, if they can do that against the Browns, maybe they can do it against anybody. But I think the jury's still out. I want to see how it goes from here. Obviously, the Saints are another tough defense, so I'm not drawing too many conclusions yet because I do still think that could be a problem spot for this offense.
We'll get right back to the video, but got to take a quick minute to remind you about BetUS. Been showing you how easy it is to use, and of course, I want you to take advantage of that great promotion. If you sports bet, you need to discover BetUS. If you don't, you need to start. Go to BetUS. Remember, a 150% bonus on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. It's all right here on the screen. I want to show you how easy it is. Go to BetUS. Here you go. You're in the Sportsbook. Let's hit the football drop down, and let's find Week 2 NFL odds. There it is. We're going to hit that, and we're going to find Saints Cowboys. If you were here last week, of course, I took the New Orleans Saints to win, but not to cover. That didn't go so hot. So, what do you say? Let's hope that I'm the bad luck charm. Let's take Dallas minus the 6. That line's coming down. Now, certainly hope that the Saints win. Hope they win and cover. You'll make the selection right here. You'll pick your wager. How much? Let's go light here. Let's just go $10. I'm going to place my bet. It's going to ask me to confirm. As soon as it pops up, you'll very easily just hit the confirm button. There it is. And we will be locked in on Dallas to cover the 6. Again, pulling hard for the Saints. Want them to win. But last week I went with Carolina in the points. Went against the Saints. Saints blew them out. Let's hope the same thing happens this week. Of course, make sure when you go to BetUS, you use that promo code YouTube150 so you can get a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to use that promo code YouTube150. Now, enjoy the rest of the video. David Helman's with us, Fox Sports. He's on Twitter at DavidHelman_1L. You want to go give him a follow, you can. I'll get to the Saints game here in just a quick second, David. But if we go back, just like a big picture question about Dallas, I mean, there's always conversation around this franchise. You know that. I mean, the whole thing all offseason was CeeDee Lamb and Dak and the contracts. Does any of that actually, maybe it's just like a media creation where we're like, oh, is it a distraction? Does it actually affect, does any of that stuff actually affect this team and this organization?
I think to a man, they would all tell you that they don't. And I think it kind of depends on the guy, right? I mean, I spent a lot of time around Dak Prescott. I genuinely believe that he's a very unflappable guy. He's not a guy that lets the outside affect the way that he plays on the field. I think it depends, though. I mean, there's 60-something guys in that locker room, and can they all say that? Can they all say that they're really great at blocking out the noise? I can't point to a definitive reason or a definitive proof of that it's this big problem, but I have to believe that stuff starts to weigh on people. Not only is everybody always talking about you, but there's typically controversy, and on top of that, the guy that owns the team stirs a lot of it up. I mean, Jerry Jones is the single biggest creator of Cowboys news there is. I just have to think there's got to be times where you're at your locker and you're like, man, what's it like to play for a team where it's just only about football all the time? And you've heard players that leave Dallas say that after the fact. So I think there's something to it. I can't say that that's the reason why they haven't gotten over the hump in 30 years, but I think you have to be mentally tougher to play in Dallas than you would in a lot of other places.
That makes sense. I mean, look, and there's a lot of teams that haven't won a championship over the last 30 years. Dallas just gets a lot of the conversation, but this is a good football team. There's no way around that. Turn the page to Sunday. If Dallas has an Achilles heel that New Orleans might be able to exploit, where do you think that is?
Well, a couple things. I mean, the offensive line was amazing in week 1, and you're not going to get many stronger tests than Cleveland, but you're still breaking in 2 rookies there. I mean, that's still a thing that you're going to have to keep an eye on. It's a thing that good defensive coaches should be able to take advantage of, at least to a degree. And like I said, I'm not convinced that this is a completely three-dimensional offense. I'm not buying that this running game is good enough as of yet. So I do think you can potentially make this team one-dimensional. As good as I think Dak Prescott is just, we know it's not a good recipe of complimentary football to ask your quarterback to drop back 35, 40, 45 times in a game. So I would point to that. And then on the opposite side, again, week 1 was an amazing start, but the Cowboys' biggest problem last year was when you don't get into that favorable game script that just lets you rush the quarterback and you actually have to play run defense and do all of the boring stuff, they struggled with that. They got run on a lot last year. I think, Mike Zimmer's the DC in Dallas now. I think he's done a lot to boost that. I think they will be better. But, if you get into the second half of a one-score game and the other team can still run and do screens and misdirection and kind of get you off of that pass rush mode, I need to see Dallas play that better because they had a lot of problems with it last year.
If I don't know how much or if you got to see any of the Saints against Carolina, I mean, it was impressive in every way you can imagine it being impressive. Is there a thing that the Saints do or does particularly well that you think might be able to have success against Dallas?
You know what's funny is, here at Fox, we've got like a war room set up. So I've got like a monitor on every game on Sundays. And I was so excited to see this Saints-Carolina game because, I want to see what the Saints look like. But I also, I was optimistic about Bryce Young and I wanted to see what that looked like. And I think within 9 minutes of the game starting, I was like, all right, I don't really need to be watching this. This is ridiculous. I just kind of, I was like, all right, what's going on in these other games? Because I think the Saints wrapped this thing up with about 4 minutes to play in the first quarter.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at it, one thing that I think is really interesting is I think the Saints have the back seven on defense to make life difficult. I mean, the Cowboys can get it done against a lot of teams. They obviously got it done against a really good defense in Cleveland. But at the end of the day, your passing offense is basically CD Lamb, and we'll try to slap something together with tape and WD-40, So I think if you can bracket CD and double him and do your best to take him out of the game and not let him have like a crazy day, I don't know that the Cowboys have enough other options to hurt you in the passing game. And especially since we don't know about their run game, I'm curious about that because I think the Saints have guys that can get sticky in coverage. And if CD's not taking over the game, can Brandon Cooks be that guy? He had a touchdown on Sunday, but it was really his only play of the day. And behind that, Jake Ferguson, the tight end, is dealing with a knee injury. And there's really not much else in the way of proven receiver production on this team. So I'm curious to see how the Saints secondary does. I think they're probably up to the challenge of making life difficult on them.
Do you have any insight if Ferguson plays?
I'm not in Dallas with the team anymore. I'll tell you this: it looked like his season was over on Sunday, and thank God it's not. But he's talking to the media today saying he thinks he can play Sunday, which is crazy. I heard he told reporters that he's not feeling any pain in the knee right now, but he hasn't run yet. I think he's going to run tomorrow. But, I would call it at least a 50-50 shot that he plays, which just seems crazy after the way he left the game on Sunday.
If he doesn't play, how big of a deal is that to the offense?
I think it's a huge deal. He didn't have the craziest game. Again, it's week one against a great defense. I think Jake Ferguson is easily the second best option in this offense behind CD, not just because he can make plays with the ball in his hands, but he's a volume guy and a deep intermediate guy. Dak Prescott loves to throw down the seams. He loves to target the middle of the field. It's his favorite thing in the world to target the tight end 18, 20 yards downfield. And he's got a great rapport with Jake. Like I said, Brandon Cooks, at this point, he's still a guy whose speed you have to honor, but you're probably talking about a guy that you're going to target 3 to 6 times a game. He's just not a volume guy. So without Jake Ferguson in there, I think, it makes it that much easier to focus on CD Lamb, and I think it becomes problematic for their passing offense for sure.
David Helman, before you go, one thing to watch if the Saints manage to pull the upset. What's the fill in the blank there? How do they do it?
You broke up on me there for a second.
Oh, sorry, no worries. I was just saying, give me one thing to watch. If the Saints are able to pull the upset, how do they do it?
I'm the worst. I still can't hear you.
Clearly, you don't want to answer my question. It's all good, man. We'll let you go. David, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
All right, brother. Sorry about that.
All good. All good. That's David Helman, Fox Sports. Thanks so much for watching the video. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, hit the bell so you're notified when we post a new video, and remember to support BetUS, where right now you can get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to use that promo code YouTube150.